The views on this program do not reflect those of ONTV or its board of directors. Welcome to Oaa Now, your home for Oakland Activities Association news and information. Here's your host, Sammy.
Welcome to Oaa Now. Here I'm Sammy, a blogger of the Dragons Insider, blogger of Inside the OAA, and one of the hosts between Terminus and Orion Neighborhood Television. I'd like to welcome our friends hearing us on the local voice on SoundCloud, and also those hearing us on Orion Neighborhood Television. This week I got two guests this week, of course, both well-known girls basketball coaches. We have Lake Orion girls basketball coach Bob Bridges here, and Stony Creek girls basketball coach Kellen James here. Welcome, both of you.
Hey, Sammy.
Good morning, Sam.
Good morning. How was everybody today?
Good.
Not bad.
Let's look at, of course, you guys are my first guest since Coach Doug Corliss. Last year we talked football. I want to get your football thoughts and later on in the show. I want to talk about the state of girls basketball. Of course, when you look at, of course, you guys have very good teams coming back. When you look at you guys, I'm going to start with Bob here. Bob, when you look at the state, when you look at girls basketball in the OAA, what's your thoughts about it heading in?
Honestly, the OAA this year, especially looking at what everybody has coming back and the way they finished up last year, both the OAA red, white, and even the top of the blue is going to be very, very competitive. Last year, the red and the white were very competitive overall. Obviously, Southfield was right there with Royal Oak in the red, and then in the white, you had West Bloomfield and Avondale, and a couple of teams right behind. Oxford was very good. The white was ultra competitive, though. Every game was very close. For the red, other than a couple of games, I think you guys were really close too, Kellen.
Yeah, the red was extremely close. You kind of had two tiers. You had Royal Oak and Southfield, who were clearly the top two. But then everything else in the red last year was a battle. No matter what game it was, Bloomfield Hills, us, any of those teams, it was a pretty good battle. And even like you were saying with the blue, blue's going to be pretty competitive this year as well with Rochester and Berkeley. Pretty much both teams bringing everybody back.
And Farmington dropped down, and they were young last year.
Yeah.
So, and you talk speaking to the red. I mean, Clarkson was very young last year. I'm going to be younger this year, but I'm going to
Same here.
I'm going to be bringing back quite a few kids that have a lot of experience, but they're still young. Like I said, I think the OAA this year again for who knows how many years in a row now. This has been an amazing run for us. I mean, it's going to be very competitive, top to bottom.
When you look at the OAA heading into this winter, of course, that comes to my next question. When you look at the league now, of course, West Bloomfield, the team that moves up from the white to the red. North Farmington comes down. But also, I want to get your thoughts on the new district format. What are your exact thoughts on this format? Do you like it? Do you not like it? What is your thoughts? I'm gonna start with Kellen on this one.
Oh, I like I like seating. I mean, I've been all for seating ever since BCAM proposed using the KPI. I think seating is extremely important. They do it in football. They do it in other sports. There's no reason that basketball hasn't done it yet. The seating for this year, it's a start, I think, but I don't think it's, from the proposal I've seen, it's not going to be perfect. Talking with people, I said, if you're going to seed the first top two teams, why aren't you seeding everybody else?
That's the question that comes down to me is when the MHA decided to do this, they decided to just do the top two seeds. So basically, if you're the top two seeds, you know what I mean? That basically means you're playing on a Monday, it looks like. You know what I mean? You're playing that first day, aren't you?
Not necessarily.
No, that's not the case. Actually, the top two seeds, all that guarantees you is that you'll be on opposite sides of the bracket. The randomness of the draw is still there.
Okay.
Which is why, even with the seeding, I mean, granted, so if Kellen was a 1 seed and I was a 2 seed, it would mean that the only place we could ever play is the final.
In the final.
However, it doesn't preclude us from playing on a Monday. Mm-hmm. It doesn't. And here's the thing. It doesn't preclude you from being upset by somebody else, like has happened a million times. So sometimes, in my estimation, you're actually possibly losing the best game of that district draw, when it used to be maybe the first game of the night or the second game of the night. So if somebody got upset, you may not even see the best district game that you possibly could have had if the 2 highest seeds never even play.
But
But it is a start.
It is a start, you know what I mean? So that comes down to my next question. Of course, I want to get your early season league thoughts. I mean, on these teams of the OA, but I want to go into your districts. Of course, I know both of you guys have looked in your early districts. I'm going to start with Kellen. Your district this year, you're hosting a district.
We're hosting, yeah.
You're hosting, but when you look at your district, you guys, Rochester, Troy, Athens, Utica, Eisenhower, and Utica. Of course, last season you guys were upset by Utica, and
yeah, don't remind me.
And and the fact it's basically the same district except you're adding Troy Athens in this district. So, what is your early thoughts on your district?
Well, I think it's going to be very competitive. Like I said, we're going to be young. I think a lot of these teams that are in the district, Troy's going to be really good. They've got the 2 big post
Kendall
players.
Zider, Athena Sampson.
Yeah, and then they've got the another guard that's pretty talented.
Yeah, number 4. I don't know what her name is.
Yeah, I know what you talk about.
Yeah, she's pretty good.
And then Utica's going to be good. They've got the
Lena Ray back.
She's a really quick point guard. I know Eisenhower's going to have a young point guard as well. Rochester is pretty much bringing everybody back with a new coach. But they're that's a lot of kids that played in some high pressure games last year, playing in the blue and winning the blue.
They shared it with Berkeley.
Yeah, they shared it with Berkeley. And then Athens is going to be pretty competitive as well.
Athens brings back their top 7 kids from last year.
They bring back their top 7 kids.
Yeah. I had a long talk with their coach, and she's excited about this year because we finished down, I think 6 and 7 in the white with them. But honestly, they were competitive, and all they got was lots of experience for those top 7 kids, and they all come back.
And that's going to be huge for a team like Troy Athens. Let's talk Troy a little bit. You know what I mean? Of course, Bob, you see him twice. Kellen, you get to see him during the regular season as well. When you look at Troy, that program, you have players like Kendall Zider, you have Athena Sampson. You talked about, they did lose Emily Olson a year ago. They did lose Emily Olson, but they do have a couple players from their JV program that were very good that are moving up. So, Kellen, talk about the Colts in your mind, and then I'll give the same question to Bob.
They're extremely talented. Simon does a wonderful job with them. Gets them, to play hard every single night. When we played them last year, they were a younger team. You mentioned Kendall Zider. She's a heck of a player. She really had a good AAU season. From everything I've heard,
she can play inside out.
Yeah, she can play inside out. And she does a really good job against pressure. I mean, with the way that we played last year, she really handled our pressure. But I think Troy's going to be one of the top teams in our district for sure. Probably one of the top teams in the white as well. They're another year older. I think they're going to be able to really make some noise.
Bob, what's your thoughts on Troy?
To his point on Troy, when you look at the district that he has and he's hosting, Troy potentially could be one of the seeded teams in that district. Just out of the KPIs that they have, I think Troy is going to be very competitive. I know that we're very cautious and aware of them in the white because we'll see them home and away this year. But again, we played 2 tight games with them last year. I'm looking forward to playing them this year. Our team's going to look a lot different this year than it did last year. I've got a lot of new faces coming in and a lot of kids that played last year as sophomores that are, got a lot of experience, and we're going to see a very different team. But Troy is, literally, even their JV program last year, watching them play twice,
they were very good.
They were very good. Once we took them triple overtime, and then once we beat them in regulation by 5, I believe. So they've got some talent coming up, just like, most programs are starting to develop that JV program into a much more competitive piece. We're starting to see a lot of talent evolve there. So I think Troy, like he said, I think it'd be a very good challenge for just about anybody, and they could be seeded headed into that district.
Okay, now we're going to go from the district at Stony Creek to your district, Bob. It's going to be at Waterford Kettering. Of course, the same teams as last year. You got Waterford Kettering, Oxford, Rochester Adams. You got, of course, you have you guys in Clarkston. Bob, what is your thoughts on this on your district?
This district
Forgot to mention Romeo, I think.
Yeah, and Romeo came in. Had they seeded the teams out last year, Romeo would have been seeded. I think it would have been Romeo and Waterford Kettering would have been seeded in that district last year. But Clarkston was very competitive last year.
Yeah.
They were very young. They played a ton of freshmen.
They had a vicious schedule last year too.
And I'll tell you, look for them to be much better this year. Oxford lost 2 key pieces, but they bring up some height that they didn't have last year. And they still have a couple of guards that are very, very important to them. They finished 3rd in the white last year. They were very, very competitive. And like I said, Adams, again, another young team. I know both Kellen and I played them last year. Mm-hmm. And they actually had an upset in the first round. They
upset Romeo.
They upset Clarkston, didn't they?
No,
or Romeo. You're
Romeo.
Right. You're
They
Romeo.
upset Romeo.
They upset Romeo.
They've got that core seniors that
Yep.
have been varsity players since
Yep.
they
Since they
were freshmen.
were freshmen.
Yep.
So, I mean, that district at Waterford Kettering could be crazy. And honestly, I couldn't tell you right now. If you ask me who the 2 seeds are going to be in that, I couldn't tell you.
No.
It could be any one of the 6.
It's
It
going to
could
be
be.
interesting to see with Kettering, like who Kettering ends up. They graduated
heavy last
They
year.
graduated heavy last year.
They
They
lost
still have
their,
Markea Holland back.
yeah, but they're big
and Irene Schoof.
They're big.
Yeah.
They're big forward though. The scoring forward, I think she had 14 against Clarkston.
Brackhannon or
Yeah.
Claire
And
Brackhannon. Yeah, she's gone.
And she did she foul out that game too?
Yeah,
right?
she did.
But honestly, I mean, she was a big piece for them. They're going to be probably still pretty good. I don't know if they'll be as good as they were last year, but again, out of those 6 teams, literally, I mean, any one of us could be seeded.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at Kellen, I'm gonna get your thoughts on the district on Bob's district. I got Bob's thoughts on Kellen's. What is when you look at the district and the teams I'm more specific, you got to keep an eye on for sure is Clarkston. You know what I mean? Clarkston, as you mentioned, Bob, they got a lot of players back, well coached under John Wire. Both of you have seen him at the summer league. So, What is your thoughts on John Wire's Wolves?
They're young and talented. Their point guard, Scrupsey.
Scrupsey, yeah, the point guard. Yeah, the point guard.
She's the real deal. She does a really good job handling the ball, handling pressure. That was one of the biggest things I was impressed with her watching her play last year is how well she could handle pressure. With as many girls as we started throwing at them. They're going to be really talented. Not only do they have a strong point guard, they're deep. They have probably 7 or 8 girls that all can handle the ball, pass the ball, and shoot the ball. And with the way that the 5-out that they play, they move the ball really well on the outside. They look to attack gaps hard and get to the rim, and if they can't get to the rim, they do a good job of finding that open shooter. So I think Clarkston's going to be a solid, one of these really solid teams going forward. I think that they're going to be a team that can compete in our league with Southfield this year.
We'll talk about the Red in a minute here. Bob, I want to get your thoughts on Clarkston.
To Kellen's point, though, I mean, he nailed it. I mean, they're very talented. They're very deep. They bring pressure all from different types and different angles all the time, which is interesting. The one thing that I still see with Clarkston, and I'll be interested to see how they handle playing against it if they run into it, especially like with Southfield with having a couple bigs. Last year, that's what hurt them eventually against Waterford Kettering. Was they're not big.
No,
they're quick.
Yes,
they're quick and they're long. They have long, but they don't have big. And if you can get a big that's established against them, it maybe. But other than that, I mean, they're very talented. They're going to be really, really good. And that's why I said I think when you're looking at that Waterford Kettering district, I mean, any one of those 6 teams literally could come out of that district, just depending on the how you're playing that particular week.
And then you look at other teams like Oxford and Adams. Of course, Oxford of course, you know well hand, both of you guys, of course, how hard Rachel Breyer gets that team
Yeah.
going. And, that's what you're going to have to match that intensity every night when you play a team like Oxford. So I want to get both your thoughts on the Wildcats and the Highlanders before we go to our next topic.
To your point on the Wildcats playing hard, our last our last summer league game was actually against Oxford, and it was a knockdown drag out. It was a fun game. Came down the last couple buckets just in the summer league.
Watching it was like a mid-season game.
Yeah, it really was, and the intensity was up. There were parents everywhere yelling and screaming. It felt like a very competitive game, and I'm looking forward to playing them twice this year. Just because I like what they bring to the table. They throw multiple different defenses at you. They'll switch in and out from man to man, 2-3, 1-3-1, 1-2-2, different types of presses. So they're going to throw the kitchen sink at you, but they're going to play every possession hard. As far as the Highlanders, I'll be interested to see how they carry over from last year. They were middle of the pack in the white, and then all of a sudden came on at the end during the districts. Shea got them to play pretty good at districts. But I'll be interested to see. I mean, they made the district final last year.
Yeah.
So I'll be interested to see how they come out. Like you said, they're going to be pretty senior heavy this year. That experience is something to not look away from. It's definitely a positive when you can get enough seniors in your program that have been playing like she has
and playing solid minutes. Shea's had Amelia Drainick and Nicole Clarehout. They've been starters since they were freshmen.
And then you have Maddie DeLinga in there too.
Yeah,
she can shoot threes.
Maddie DeLinga,
shoot it.
Peters Mark.
Lauren Peters Mark. Yep.
You have two solid seniors, two solid juniors, and then you have kids that are coming in playing, and they buy in. The biggest thing, I think with girls basketball is getting your team to buy into what you're doing, and she has gotten those kids to buy in. They play hard every single night. When we've played them in the past, we know that they're going to give it everything that they have, and it's going to be one of our tougher games because they play so hard. And like Bob said, Shea did get them. They really started. Yep. They started playing really, really well towards the end of the year, and I think that's one of those things of they're starting to gel as they were starting to gel as sophomores and juniors. Now they're gonna be seniors and juniors, and those are the type of things having good seniors and good upperclassmen that can lead you and kind of make that season that much more successful.
What is your thoughts on Oxford, Kellen?
We only see Oxford in the summer now.
Yeah.
We haven't played them in the last 2 or 3 years, and we're not in the same district. But watching it, like Bob said, watching them over the summer, they're quick. They're very gritty. They're loose balls. They have 4 girls diving for every loose ball. They rebound the ball really well. They defend really well. They weren't super tall. They were super big, but they were efficient. Offensively, they were able to move the ball around the outside, get defenses to really have to move side to side, and then once they found the breakdown in the defense, they attacked it. And Rachel does a good job. I think she's coming in when she came in. She has really turned that program into really made it a lot very stable, and I think she's done a really good job over the last few years.
Okay, now talk about playing at Oakland University. Of course, I think this year both you guys are going to have the luxury of playing at OU this year. Of course,
we're actually trying to.
Lake Orion plays Oxford at Oakland, and Stony Creek plays Adams at Oakland this year. So talk about the thoughts. Talk about the thoughts of playing at OU. For both you guys.
It's a fun event. Last year playing in it, coaching it for the first time. It was really cool. It's a little different for the girls to with the type of floor and the lighting and things, getting used to it. But really, in the end, it's a cool experience where they get to play and have fun there. We played Rochester there. We play Adams there this year. Playing in front of a bigger crowd than normal, especially towards the end of the game, as more fans start to filter in, you get a real college atmosphere.
Well, then you have both your bands there too. You know what I mean?
And you have 2 huge student sections going at it on each end. It was fun. Our girls really enjoyed it. Really liked it. We'll play in it this year, and then the following year we sit out, and then we'll play Rochester again after that. So I didn't know that Orion and Oxford were going to do that.
Yeah, I tried to set it up last year, and we just couldn't get a date in common. But we've got a couple of dates on the books right now that we're looking at doing to both boys and girls, same thing. It's something that I did when I was at Losser. We played Andover there back-to-back years, and it was exciting. It was a very, very fun event, and I look forward to getting it back. And it's something that we've talked to the Oxford coach. Rachel and I have talked about. Both ADs have discussed it. It's something we'd like to continue for years and years if we can. I think especially you saw Lake Orion Oxford were very competitive last year, boys. Lake Orion Oxford girls-wise, we saw all summer long, very competitive. And I think that's a great atmosphere to bring not just – it's really a community feel, which I don't think sometimes you get even just a regular season game because, most of the time you're playing on, a Friday night or a Saturday night at OU, and I think you're really getting a community feel where a lot more people come out than normally come out, and especially playing, girls at 5:30, boys at 7, which is what our game plan is. I think it's the same for you. The people that wouldn't normally come to a girls game, they might be there for the second half because they want to get seats for the boys game. So all of a sudden, you're getting them in there, and you're getting a chance to show them that, hey, by the way, these girls can play. And it's one of the things that I've advocated. I'm headed in my 22nd season of girls basketball, and I look at it and I say, these girls can play, and if people would give them a shot to watch them play, they'd be surprised how much these girls put into it. Sometimes those girls' games can be even more competitive and chippy than the guys' games.
I think you're absolutely right.
I think that too. I've seen that. It's no one from both watching both, working both sides of the level. It can get chippy. You know what I mean? It can get chippy. But when you look at, I think it's a great experience for both you guys to play at OU this year. It's going to be a really good experience.
Yeah, it'll be cool.
It's a fantastic opportunity for the kids. I think it puts them in an environment that they don't normally get to see on an everyday basis. And I think that's the most important part. I mean, even as coaches, we're still teachers and educators. Even though it's not what I do for a living, it's still what you're doing when you're on the basketball court, and you're allowing these kids to have an opportunity to experience something that they'll carry for the rest of their lives. I don't care who they are. If they're number 1 kid on the team or number 12 kid on the team, it's something they're going to tell their kids. Oh, I played at Oakland. We played on that floor right there. Absolutely.
And I've been in Oakland for 8 years as a student. And of course my brother Anthony's been a manager there for 5 years, so I do know that court very well. And that was before they put the blacktop in. And so let's go from Oakland. Let's go to your your thoughts on the divisions. Of course, you look at, Kellen, you're in the red this year. Bob, you're in the white this year. When you look at the divisions, we talked about it earlier in the show. Let's go from the blue first. Rochester and Ferndale have new coaches. Rochester, of course, with Bill Thurston taking over that team there. Ferndale, they got a new coach there in They got a new coach in Keith Paris, who's taking over that team. Talk about
is he related to the Paris that played at Seaholm?
No, not Paris Bass. No.
Okay, all right. I didn't know. I wasn't sure.
So when you look at new head coaches, Bob, of course, you're going to be in your second year at Lake Orion as a head coach. Talk about that transition that both Thurston and Paris are going to have to go through coaching their respective teams.
Toughest part for me was I was named the varsity coach late. So you got no summertime. It was really hard.
Yeah.
It was very difficult because now all of a sudden you got kids that, oh man, the coach quit. I'm not even sure if I'm going to play, to, oh, hey, I kind of like this coach, so I am going to come and play. Or kids that say, I don't want to play for a new coach. So it's a big transition that first year. And, I was fortunate enough to come into some kids that I had coached previously as freshmen. But even still, it's a big change from freshman level to varsity level. And, for those kids to understand, hey, we need to ramp this up now.
Yep.
And it was just a difficult, now having a full summer this year, those teams typically are better the second and third year than they are the first year.
Right. Yep.
It's just, it's one of those things. Now, from what I hear, I played Rochester in the summer last year as a JV coach before I was named varsity coach. Rochester's got a lot of talent coming up.
Yeah, they do. They have a really good freshman group coming
Mhm.
in. A lot of kids coming back.
And so he's fortunate to come into a situation, but again, he's probably bringing in a whole new system
Yeah.
that they haven't run before, and it's going to take some time to adjust to that.
That's going to be the challenge for a team like Rochester. You know, when you
It's a
look
challenge
at
for every coach. I don't
Yes.
care who you are.
you know when you look at Rochester, of course, they're in contention for a league title this year. You know what I mean? When you look at Rochester, and Bill Thurston is the new coach there. So when you look at experience, you know what I mean? It's always interesting when you have familiarity. It always helps out when you have a guy that you know compared to a guy that you really don't know. Of course, both you guys were fortunate, you know what I mean, that you guys knew the system. You guys came in. Of course, Kellen, you took over for Brad Crichton, and then Bob, of course, you knew coaching in the sub-varsity levels coming up. So, talk about how the familiarity has been important.
Well, I think it is important. Like Bob was saying, I got hired towards the end of September when I got the job, and I was coming in with 2 returning seniors that were playing, one senior that didn't play much, and she wasn't going to play her senior year, and then that was the first call I made was to her because she played for me as a freshman and sophomore on the JV. But for me, the thing that helped was returning. I was bringing in a bunch of kids that played the previous year JV basketball that knew exactly what I was doing. They knew our system, how I wanted to play defense. They knew how I wanted to play offense. It was getting once we got the returning kids to buy in, then it kind of we really started taking off. But a lot of the kids were familiar with what I was trying to teach and the drills that we did in practice and offensive terminology, defensive terminology. And I think, especially at Rochester, that's one thing Bill is going to, he's going to be okay with, because 2 years ago he was the varsity assistant. Last year he was the JV coach. So any kid any person or girl that was coming up from the JV last year to his team this year will be in sync with everything he's doing. And then he's able to connect with those kids that are still on the varsity that were pulled up as freshmen or sophomores that are going to be either juniors or seniors now on the varsity. So I think he's going to have some familiarity. I can't even talk right now. Yeah.
Familiarity?
Yes, I can't even talk right now. But with those kids, and they're going to be able to, I think that's going to only be something that's going to help them in the long run.
It will help. That will help, especially if he decides that he's going to continue to run the same system they've been running. Okay. And that's where it comes in differently. Like Kellen was able to come in, and most of the stuff that you guys were running at Stony Creek was stuff that was program wide. So it was top to bottom.
Yeah.
Whereas when I came in October, actually, last year, October.
Yeah, last year, October.
And I was now the 4th coach in 4 years.
Yeah.
Those poor kids.
Rochester's got the same thing.
They were lost though. They were absolutely lost the first month.
Right.
It's hard because they're excited because they knew me because I was in the program. This is my 7th year at Lake Orion, but only my 2nd year as the varsity coach. But at the same time, it's a different program because I have different things that I run and the different ways that I want to teach things.
Right.
So yes, familiarity is a good thing, depending on whether he continues to run exactly.
Right.
He may want to put his own stamp on it, and if he does, it'll take him some time to adjust that.
And that's going to be also the same thing at Ferndale with Bass, with the Paris over there. I think that's going to be the same thing.
Ferndale coached
over
a
there.
nice job last year. Their coach last year,
Laura
did a nice
Hoffner,
job.
yeah,
She
did a
actually
really
did a
nice
pretty good job. Yeah.
But when you look at the Blue Division as a whole, you know what I mean? You got Rochester, you got Berkeley, of course. Then you got everybody else. So
Farmington's
like your dark horse team to keep an eye on.
Honestly,
and Seaholm too.
Don't sleep on Seaholm. They actually played pretty tough against us early season last year. Now, granted, it was early season, but they were young last year.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised.
They were going through a coaching transition though, because you're going from January Halusky to Chris Manchester.
Yeah.
Manchester was a boys coach. coming in the girls' style.
Yeah, and he was out of center line, right?
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
at center line.
Yeah. So again, there's another transitional
Right.
piece. So don't sleep on that. Year 2 and year 3 of new coaches, you typically expect those teams because they've kind of weeded out the kids that they've
got their program kids coming
exactly
in. Yeah.
right.
Yep.
So now all of a sudden, you've gone ahead and moved on to the next step per se. So I don't sleep on Seaholm and that blue this year.
And then you talk Farmington, of course. This Farmington team, Bob, very, very. They were young last year, of course. Now they got some questions this year. So talk about Farmington a little bit.
Yeah, it was so funny. Saturday I actually ran into one of their coaches at an event I was running. So it was kind of crazy. And I asked her how summer was going. She's like, it's going. But they were young. The second time I played them last year, they were much better than the first time I played them last year.
I think playing at home kind of really helps too.
It did. But you saw some concept things that I could see she had just started to put in. And, I think the blue competition for them this year will really help the young kids benefit from some confidence things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But then, of course, you look at Berkeley also. You got Berkeley, of course. They're well coached. They got a freshman coming in the program. It's going to be very good. We talked Rochester earlier. So you see that possibly being a 4-team race this year in the blue? You guys?
Yeah, I mean, you have those 4 teams. I'm drawing a blank.
Farmington, Seaholm, Berkeley, and Rochester.
Berkeley, and Rochester, and you never know. With like you said, we don't know what Ferndale's going to do.
Right.
And,
Pontiac.
Pontiac too.
Mhm.
You never know. Some of those teams could just pop up. Nobody thought last year Rochester was going to be as good as they were.
Oh, look at what
Jeff Haney did.
Yeah.
Well, look at what. You're talking Pontiac. Look what the new Lake Orion boys coach actually.
Yeah, Joel Schroeder.
Joel Schrader.
Yeah.
Schroeder.
Look at Schroeder. Yeah.
he
Look
brought
what he
him back. Yeah.
look what he did at Pontiac last year with the
Won
boys.
22 games.
And nobody expected that.
No, not at all.
And that's what I'm saying.
Well, he had 10 seniors on that team, though.
Yeah.
Again, though, it's something we've talked about today already. Top to bottom, the OAA presents issues for a lot of different people. We're very competitive. I know last year over the Christmas break, they had OAA KLAA?
Yeah, the OAKLA challenge. Yep.
Challenge.
Yep.
And I'll tell you what,
I think you're in that this year,
Yeah,
Kellen.
yeah.
I was there watching, and honestly, you watch how we play some other teams. Some leagues are not ready for what the OAA brings.
No.
We're very competitive top to bottom. And again, each division every year, it seems you get 1 or 2 teams that kind of pull themselves away from other teams. But every time it's somebody different, it seems like, except for maybe Southfield.
Yeah.
But other than that, who thought West Bloomfield was going to be as good as they were last year?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
See, even Avondale, same thing.
I want to talk. Speaking of Avondale, let's go to the from the blue to the white. Of course, I call this division the kiss of death division. It's basically could be one of the toughest divisions
Probably
in the
top
state.
to bottom.
Top to bottom. When you look at
1 to 7,
Like 1 to 7,
anybody can beat anybody.
Yeah.
Any night.
So, Bob, when you found out the division that was going to be a division, what was your first initial thought?
My first initial thought is Simpson's coming down to my division with North Farmington, and I know they're not going to be like they were last year. So that was initially my thought was, great, now I have another really good coach to deal with. But I mean, honestly, everybody in that division last year, whether we beat them or got beat by them, every game was there were no blowout games.
No.
Every game was it was single digit games. You're fighting for your life every single night. I mean, it was literally, it was 9 points here, 5 points there, 7 points here, 2 points there. Every single night was a dogfight. And I think you're going to see a lot more of that this year in the white. It's going to be very tough. And if you don't come ready to play one night, you're going to end up going home with an L.
Kellen, what's your thoughts on the whites? You know what I mean?
I everything Bob said is absolutely correct. I mean, I do think that the white top to bottom is going to be the most competitive in watching games, because you have so many teams that are so similar, that play extremely hard, but there's not a clear cut great team, not a clear cut bottom team. I mean, everybody's going to be in there, like you said, fighting every night and playing hard every night. Moving with some of the moving that happened with the divisions, I think that even strengthened that competitiveness that much more. Like you said, with North Farmington coming down, and Farmington High going down. I think that kind of made it a little bit more stronger, top to bottom.
So now let's go to your division, the Red. Kellen, when you look at the Red, what was your first initial thought when you saw West Bloomfield coming up to the Red?
Oh, another good team. I mean, it's
They got a lot back.
It's another battle. In the Red, there's no nights off. I mean, you have to have your game, and if you don't have your game with you that night, you're going to go home early. And we saw that a few times last year against some of the better teams that we played. But it strengthens who we're playing. Strengthens the league.
It helps your district too.
Helps the district, and that's my thing is with scheduling is I want to always play the best. I mean, I want to play as the best teams that we possibly can play, and even now with the way that the districts are going, playing stronger teams throughout the year is only going to help me, win or lose. But with West Bloomfield, they're bringing everybody back.
Majority of them are back. They only lose 2 seniors.
Yeah, they only lost 2 seniors. They've got a lot of talent. They get up and down the floor. They play with a lot of pace. So it's going to be a good challenge for us, 2 times this year.
When you look at, of course, you have a team named Southfield in there, of course. We know last year they went to state final, and Saginaw Heritage basically, if you got to their bench a year ago, you know what I mean? That's what happened with Southfield a year ago. Mm-hmm. So what was your thoughts watching Southfield A&T making the state final? And then, of course, basically knowing what happened last year, especially when Heritage got to their bench.
I think they ran out of gas at times. They weren't deep enough. And when we played them, I think they played 6 kids. Mm-hmm. We only played them once last year.
Yeah, I know.
But they didn't have a deep bench, and I think that's going to be interesting to see. I think they lose a really, really talented and aggressive power forward in Alexis Johnson.
Josh Johnson. They lost Soto Barnes a year ago.
They Barnes, who transferred in last year, was a really good shooter. I think she hit 5 or 6 threes against us, and a lot of the teams that I talked to in the Red, she was that X factor because she could really stretch the floor for them and shoot the ball. So they're going to be missing those 2. I haven't heard yet who's
I have
coming
not
in,
heit's anything on the transfer department.
I'm sure somebody's going to. I'll go on record and say it, but it's going to be they still have Cheyenne.
Yeah, she has Cheyenne McEvans.
And she had a lot of experience. I don't know if you guys were watching that, but I mean, she ended up playing with some USA ball.
Oh, she's going to be. She
played a ton of AU ball.
As a senior, she'll be Miss Basketball candidate. She should be.
Oh, for sure.
Worthy, the post player that
Jasmine Worthy,
they got from Groves last year. She's long. She really changes things inside the paint, and alters shots. And I think that was a key for them last year was she could alter shots and get rebounds and outlet the ball really well. And so then they were already Cheyenne or Alexis or whoever it was already
Kiana Willis, their point guard,
already taken off down the floor. So they'll still be good. I mean,
they'll still be good, yes. But when you look at your division, West Bloomfield, you got to look at them. Of course, a team that I'm curious to see, and I know both you guys are going to play them this year. Is Brian Zapata's team at Royal Oak. Mm-hmm. Of course, Royal Oak lost a lot of talent back a year ago. They lost, but you can never underestimate a Brian Zapata team.
Brian's a very, very good coach. When I was at Losser, we played Brian twice a year when I was over there. And that just shows you the progression of Brian Zapata. When I played him when we were at Losser, we were in the blue. Then he moved to the white. Now he's moved to the red. He's done a fantastic job over there. And every game I've ever been in with Brian has been a very tight game. He's very well prepared. He gets his players to play. He always has kids put in the right position. He's a very good coach. And I look for we're playing.
You're at Royal Oak this year.
We're at Royal Oak. We're playing Kellen.
Yeah.
We're also playing Clarkston. We're playing 3 of the Red Division teams. To Kellen's point earlier, we're not going to get any better just sitting back playing, somebody from, that doesn't compete. So, to get my kids ready and for my league, especially the way my league's going to play, we wanted to play the best. And, you got good coaches. Kellen's a good coach. Brian's a good coach. John
First time I
Wire.
heard that.
Well,
John Wire.
you,
Yeah.
you got my. Hey, listen, coach. We better stick together, or else we're be the only ones that are going to be saying it. And then John Wire. I mean, it was good to see John. John and Kellen and I we saw each other all summer at our summer league
Yep.
at Lake Orion. So it was actually very competitive summer league. That was fun, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the regular season because I think it's going to be fun to see the little changes that we all make.
Yeah, and going back to that, like Brian does an awesome job, but he's one of the good guys out there. He does things the right way. He builds his kids up from the younger programs, elementary, middle school, high school. He definitely he does things the way that they should be. He's not all about he doesn't bring kids in from all over the place to fill out his roster for that year. Those kids are
Homegrown kids.
Homegrown Royal Oak kids, and that's what it's all about. I think is coaching.
I think that makes it. I think it makes it more special.
Yeah, it does.
I really do. I really think like our kids. We're closed. I can't bring kids in.
No, neither can we.
You can't either. Hey, so I think when they get a taste of success, it means even more to those kids, especially because they've done it all together the whole way up.
Yep.
Yeah, really. I mean, it's a big family feel, and it's really fun. And Brian promotes that, and I kudos to him. He does a great job.
Yeah.
Yes. Especially with your guys' programs, of course, in the middle school levels, of course, Bob, you have the luxury of 3 middle schools, Scripps, Wall, and Oakview. Kellen, you have Hart Middle School, of course, next door.
Yep.
So when you look at the development of your programs, talk about how important the middle school programs have been for both of you guys.
Oh, I think it's huge. I think after the varsity coach, I think the next most important coach you can have in a program is your 8th grade coach, because especially with girls, of getting those kids to continue to want to play after 8th grade, because a lot of girls after 8th grade start to have to specialize, whether it's the volleyball coaches saying you have to play volleyball, or soccer coaches. Having those 8th grade coaches be able to make that a fun experience it is a big deal. And one of the things that we actually did this year, and we're real lucky, our 8th grade coach is now going to be on staff with us during the year. So he'll go from fall basketball with the girls at Hart, coaching them, and then he'll come on staff with us. But I think middle school basketball, getting the middle school kids involved early is a big thing for us.
It was one of the questions I got, because before I became the varsity coach, I was coaching 8th grade at Oakview. And a lot of people were like, well, are you going to stop coaching at Oakview? And I'm like, what? No, absolutely not. Because not only do I get to help energize some of those kids coming up, but I get to see all my kids compete at least twice a year against our team. And it gives me some familiarity to all those kids, moving forward as they coming out of 8th grade. So they're seeing me and competing against me. And honestly, this summer was the first time that I had a chance to coach some of those kids from Scripps and Walden, and they all knew who I was. Yeah. So I think that was an easier transition for them. And as long as my wife doesn't kill me, I'm going to continue to do that, as much as I can. So I think it's very important.
Talk about the family importance, of course. You just mentioned it, of course, Bob, of course. Talk about how the importance of family for letting you guys coach both your respective programs.
Oh, I think it's huge. I mean, my wife Natalie does everything from November. I mean, besides, she does everything all the time. Don't get me wrong. I mean, she's the one that she runs everything for us, and she does a fantastic job with that. But during November to March, I mean, it's tough for her. It's tough for us. I've got a 3-year-old and 1-year-old.
Preston?
Preston
Good
and
kid.
Addie.
Great kid.
And it's tough, but having supportive family with what you do, I think helps it a lot. Natalie can bring the kids up to practice, drop them off at practice. And I know the kids, pretty much once the kids get to practice is over, because all my girls want to go play with Addie and Preston. But she's very supportive on what we do, and she's understanding that there are some late nights, there are some changes on the fly, and I think that is the biggest thing for me is having somebody that's so supportive at home that understands how much we care about it.
To echo that, we're on the opposite side. We're on the opposite ends of that. But when I first started coaching, my son hadn't even been born yet, and now he just turned 21 this summer. So my wife has put up with every vacation we had for AAU ball was an AAU basketball tournament. 3 years straight, we went to Disney World, and she would go to Disney World with the kids, and I was stuck at Wild World of Sports coaching. I didn't see them, and to have somebody that understands. It's funny because people only see us a couple times a week sometimes, or maybe during the summer a little bit. They don't see what we put into what we're doing, and if you walk into the gym and aren't passionate about what you're doing, people will know. And to have family, both of our wives and kids that support us for pursuing that passion and the ability to do what we do, it would be miserable for us at home. It really would.
Make you not want to do it.
At that point, you would just step away and focus on your family. But to that point, I mean, this is, like I said, you're 22 for me. And she stood by me the whole time, just saying, "Hey, listen, I get it. I get that I'm going to that function by myself. I'm taking the kids to do this by ourselves."
I know the Bridges family proven winners in my book. Proven winners in my book. I know the James family proven winners in my book as well. Let's go from a I want to get your thoughts, from your expectations this year, both you guys, and then I want to talk a little football a little bit with your thoughts heading into this year for both your teams. Kellen, what is your expectations this year for Stony Creek?
I think right now going into looking at what we might have coming back, and I'm not going to put wins and losses in numbers. I just want to be competitive every night. I want to be able to know that every time we step on the floor, we're competing with every team, whether it's opening night against Chandler Park Academy, or
it's gonna be a tough matchup.
Playing Bob on that first Friday night. We just want to be competitive, and throughout the season, I want to stay. I want to get better. We talk about 1%. Get 1% better every day at something, and then by the end of the year, we're going to be a lot better at it. And that's kind of the focus for us, because we're doing some things differently this year. I mean, and we just want to stay focused, stay the course, and just get better and be competitive every night.
Any themes this year for you guys?
I'm not a big theme guy. It's just I've stole it from the North Farmington guys. We talk about 32 minutes, and we just our goal is to practice hard, play hard, so that on game night we can play hard for 32 minutes. That's it. We don't want to do anything special. Just play hard.
Bob, same question.
To Kellen's point, wins and losses. Obviously, I'm not going to stick a number out there, but I mean, I want to be competitive in the white. I mean, there's no reason we can't be. We've talked about that. If you're competitive in the white, top to bottom, you're going to be a good team. I want to score the first basket against Stony Creek.
Yeah, I know that.
So as long as we do that the first Friday night, I'll probably be a pretty happy guy that weekend. It'll probably make getting up for shoot around on Saturday morning a lot easier. But overall, to Kellen's point, it really is, we're young to start. We'll be a different team in February than we are in October, November. So it'll be fun to watch them grow. It'll be fun to watch them take their lumps, at certain times. But those are the moments that you live for. You're teaching moments, and that what you can get out of it. We're gonna have a lot of fun this year, watching these kids get better and better and better.
Yeah.
You have a theme this year, Bob?
My theme is show up and play hard. That's really, I mean, literally. And if we play every one of our regular season games like we played our summer league game against Oxford the last night of summer league, we're gonna be okay. We're gonna be just fine.
I agree. Let's go from girls basketball. I want to get your thoughts. Have you kept an eye on your respective high school football teams. Of course, Kellen. Of course, second year for Coach Nick Merlo. What is your thoughts heading in for Stony Creek's football season?
First of all, I can't stress how impressed I am with the job that Nick has done at Stony. Coming into a tough situation, Stony isn't a football school. There wasn't a lot of buy-in with the football program, and there wasn't a lot of extra stuff going through the football program, that they weren't doing a lot of extra things. Just as a coach watching, and Nick has done such a fantastic job over the last 2 years, year and a half, 2 years, building the program up.
The armor up culture.
And it's not even so much building it back up, it's building it up because Sony's been around for 15 years and it's never really had a football identity. And I think he's doing everything in his power to change that and to give it that football identity. The armor up idea, I think has been brilliant on his part to kind of coin that as their program's mantra. And he's developing kids. He's developing them in the weight room. They're every day. There's kids going through the weight room Monday through Friday. Throughout the summer, he's got them in there. He and I actually talked this past year about getting the girls involved with the weight program, but it didn't work out this summer because of our gym issues, and our gym and weight room was closed. But Nick has so much passion. I mean, he had his guys single-handedly move the weight room from one end of our school to the other, and just so they could stay at school and lift weights and keep things normal. I think they're going to be a lot better than they have been in the past.
I'm high on them this year.
They just they're building an identity and they're building culture, and I think in high school sports are two of the most important things that you can have.
Bob,
totally
same
agree.
question on Lake Orion football.
Totally agree with the culture aspect things. The more that you can put into developing and I don't care what sport it is. I don't care if it's basketball, football, soccer, volleyball. It doesn't matter. If you can develop the proper culture, you're going to do well. And as much as maybe Stony Creek was not, Coach Blackstock actually came into, a hotbed of football, with Lake Orion.
Yes.
And people don't see, again, I talked about this a little bit earlier. People don't see what you put in behind the scenes. That guy is there every day, working his tail off, getting those kids to buy in. And I see him. I mean, we run into each other, I spend a lot of time at the school. He spends way more than I do. And I mean, he's there during basketball season. He's there during track season. He's there during everything. With summer season, I saw him every day that I was there. He was there before I was and was still there when I left. So, I'm looking forward to seeing what Lake Orion does this year. It'll be fun. I think they've got a really good core coming back this year.
Offensively, I'm a little worried about that defensive side.
Well, you know what, though? Here's the deal. When you look at the JV team that had the JV defense last year was actually pretty good.
Yes.
You're gonna graduate some of those kids up. And if you've walked over there at all, if you've been around the school, I want to tell you, when you drive up at 8:00 in the morning and there's 65 young men inside, outside, in the gym, running, lifting, doing all kinds of drills, you have getting 15 girls to a gym is sometimes difficult. To get 65 young men to show up and put their heart and soul into something, kudos to those guys. Listen, they work their tails off. They earn every bit of respect from me that I could possibly give out to them. I look forward to being there on Friday nights. I love going to the games. I'm normally there because I'm normally yelling at you. So we're pretty good. I see you stand on the field and, I yell how much I love your brother. So we're good. But Coach Blackstock's got the boys primed and ready to go. I think we're going to be better offensively than we were last year.
I agree.
I think we'll be very, very adequate to not, if not better defensively than people think. So it's gonna be a fun year.
Stony Creek football, Kellen, of course, I am very high in your defense. You know what I mean, for starters.
Defensively,
You're going to be
really,
very
really
good defensively.
And they're
offensively, questions.
They're growing. It was they had, like we talked earlier today. That's second and third year.
Yeah.
It's that second and third.
That's going to be the year it changes.
He's got his. He came in. Nick got his stamp of approval on the program. He's putting everything in, and now you have kids that have gone through a full year of it. They've gone through a full year of with 7-on-7s. They've been being able to work on this, and Nick is Nick has done some really innovative things at Stony. He does a signing day.
Yes.
with the Hart Middle School, and it's the coolest thing.
I've seen it on Twitter a lot.
He goes
Seen
there
it on
and gets
Twitter.
them to sign in.
That's always interesting.
But that's how you get those kids to buy in
to
early.
his point, that we talked about this with basketball. Imagine, okay, we're trying to get 15 to 20 girls excited to continue playing basketball at the middle school level. Imagine being those guys in closed programs, mind you.
Right.
Okay. And I think they're judged sometimes very unfairly versus some of these other teams that are not in that situation. These guys get what comes in the school.
Right.
All right.
I agree.
Not only do you have to motivate them to continue playing, but now you have to work your tail off to make them better.
Make them better and keep them in.
And keep them ready to go.
I agree.
And to do that with 65, 70, 80, 100 kids during the summer,
And with Stony, they're a little bit of not so much of a disadvantage because Hart is a giant school. It's almost 1,100 kids for a middle school, which is
That's
big.
It'd be Class B.
Yeah, right? Literally.
Yeah, literally.
But he doesn't have some of the things that the other schools have. Like when you go to at Rochester Adams has Van Heusen and West Middle School that comes in there, and then at Rochester you have all of Ruther and half of West. So there's more football kids to pull from in those two schools, whereas he's pulling in from one school, and I think that is a challenge, and I think for Nick to keep up those numbers and do those innovative things, I think it helps his program tremendously.
Guys, I'd like to thank you for coming on this week, Kellen and Bob, both of you guys. Thanks for giving me thanks for giving me your expertise this year on your respective programs and everything. Thank you guys for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having us, man.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Yep. Okay, now I'm going to sign it off here, everybody. Of course, next week we're going to have one more podcast where we talk about the football preview shows. So we'll see what happens. This is Sammy Tamina here, signing off here. Thank you to Kellen James and Bob Bridges for coming on the podcast, and hope to see everybody during girls basketball season as well. Seeing these two going against each other early in the season.
First Friday night at our place.
Yep.
First Friday night.
So
bucket.
Getting to the free throw line.
First bucket.
Yep. So we're gonna sign off here. Take care, everybody, and see you all next week, everybody. See you later, everybody.